Tapp Mains. Where do they come from? Where do they go? And what are they good for? It takes a special kind of person to look at Dead by Daylight's rich, varied roster of survivors and say, heck yeah, I want to be that cop from that one Saw film and the 2 terrible video games. Yippee! And yet, as unlikely as it may seem, some people do just that. I mean, statistically, not many, but some do. And since when has this channel ever been about what's popular? You don't make videos about Gabriel Soma or flags if you want the algorithm to love you. So you know what? Screw it. We're looking into Detective Tapp and we're figuring out why people main him and if you should join their ranks. Over the course of this video, we will cover who Tapp is, when he joined the game, what goodies he brought with him, and then we'll cover the most important aspect of any character, fashion. Hello everybody, I'm Das Food. I make YouTube slop and people love it. I think you'll love it too, so why don't you go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I'm going to assume you just did that, so let's go ahead and get into the video. Who is Detective Tapp? How is Detective Tapp? Why is Detective Tapp? Scholars have contemplated these questions going back to the days of ancient Greece, but that was like 100 years ago and we actually have the answers now. So take a seat at wise old Food's lap and allow me to educate you. Who is Tapp? Detective David Tapp is a character from the first and best Saw film. He's a side character who ends up going insane trying to prove that Wesley from Princess Bride is the Jigsaw killer. He's not. And ends up getting his throat slit for his trouble. Fun fact, he actually has the scar from that attack on his in-game model, and one of his perk icons showcases the aftermath of the cut. Neat stuff. Tapp was also the main character of the first Saw video game that came out back in... Good lord, that was 2009. I thought he was the main character of the second Saw game too, but it turns out that was his famous and beloved son, Michael Tapp, who everybody knows and remembers. Can anybody else say DBD must have? No? Okay, well, it was worth a try. Sorry, Michael. Basically, in a series that had a billion main characters, Tapp was kind of, sort of, one of them for one movie and one forgotten video game. Fittingly, he's not even the most popular character in Dead by Daylight named David, which is likely why most everyone seems to pretend that his first name is just Detective. Food inserts clip here. Next question, how is Tapp? He's alright, I guess. He's been better, been worse. He's making it. Next question, why is Tapp? And honestly, on this one, I have no idea. They could have chosen quite a few characters from Saw to go with, and for some reason, they chose this guy. Spiral and Saw 10 had not come out when the character was added, so fair play on Chris Rock not being involved. Disappointing, because Madagascar was a cinematic masterpiece, but understandable. Personally, I think it would have been cooler to have somebody like Lee Winnell's Adam join the game, just because of the impact that Winnell has had on modern horror. He's written the first 3 Insidious films, he did the Invisible Man reboot, and he wrote the first Saw with the iconic and amazing James Wan, so definitely a big player, and it would have been cool to see him. Of course, Adam was also kind of a boring character, so if not Adam, I think there's a good case to be made for Eric Matthews, for Jill, for Rig, for Strom, for basically anybody with significant screen time. Dead Meat fans would likely want the choice to be Jeff because of the memes, but my favorite choice would be Detective Carrie. That's just because she was incredible and deserved a lot better than what the films gave her. Oh yeah, spoilers for a film from before the Obama administration, but yeah, Carrie dies and it's really unfortunate. I said earlier we would cover when Tapp was added to the game, so let's dive into that since we're pretty much already on the subject. Dead by Daylight added the Saw chapter in January of 2018. Fun fact, this was the last chapter I wasn't there for the release of, as I started playing just before the Curtain Call chapter added not Taylor Swift and the man who goes The chapter came on the heels of the Leatherface paragraph and the Nightmare on Elm Street chapter, so all it had to do to stand out was not suck total ass. Did it succeed? Kind of, yeah. It's one of the more subjective chapters and people have all sorts of feelings about it, but I'm personally happy with what we got. Amanda was a cool choice for the killer, even though Wheelchair Kramer or the Hoffinator would have been hilarious as well. I like the basics of her power, and though it took them until just before the heat death of the universe, I'm glad they finally have gotten it to a place where the dash attack is good and the bear trap RNG is understandable. The Gideon Meat Plant is a love it or hate it type of map. I generally love it, but it's not the fairest thing on Earth. Too many pallets are just ridiculously safe, so go ahead and pour one out for any M1 killers that have to face this absolute abomination. That being said, killers like Nurse and Doctor really love this map, so it really does just depend on who the killer is to determine if the cap is insanely killer or survivor-sided, but it does tend to lean pretty survivor-sided. Fun fact, getting this map will actually make every dredge main cry every time they get it, because all the maps on the upper level are on the outskirts, rendering his main power pretty useless. We've talked about the killer and the map, so then of course there is the survivor, Detective Tapp. Like all survivors, Detective Tapp comes equipped with 3 unique teachable perks. For Tapp, these perks are known as Screw Your Hex Build, I Can't Hit Great Skill Checks, and Boon, Slug Race. First and probably best of these perks is Screw Your Hex Build, or as the cool kids call it, Sahib. This perk activates anytime a generator is completed and shows the auras of all generators, chests, and totems within 64 meters of you for 10 seconds. As long as you have a better memory than a goldfish, this will allow you to see all of the totem locations and go deal with a pesky ruin or a nasty devour hope before it gets to be too much of a problem. This perk normally wouldn't be all that powerful in the current meta, but when you consider that solo queue teammates are deathly allergic to cleansing the pentimento totems that they specifically enabled the creation of, this perk begins to have some real value. I wouldn't necessarily say Sahib pairs particularly well with any specific perk, but I would say it can help to see clever spots for the Boon squad, the Booners if you will. Next up, Tapp has a perk called I Can't Hit Great Skill Checks, and you're going to be shocked to learn what this one does. The perk gives you up to 4 tokens, and get this, they turn good skill checks into great skill checks. Wild, I know. I think the real value of this perk is that it kind of functions like a weakened version of Old Spine Chill, where you get rewarded for working on a generator while the killer is nearby. Now granted, it's nowhere near as good as Old Spine Chill, but that's just the best comparison I can come up with. Every 15 seconds you spend in the killer's terror radius, you get a new token, which can help you to hammer out a gen more quickly. This perk pairs particularly well with Yunjin Lee's Fast Track and Rebecca Chambers' Hyper Focus. Though it's fair to point out that people will likely make fun of you for bringing it, since it doesn't really speed up gens all that much. But hey, you're a Tapp main. Since when do you care what other people think? You clearly don't. Last but certainly not least, the good detective has the perk Boon, Slug Race, which is not actually a boon, but this bad boy does allow you to crawl 50% faster while also being able to recover. You're also 75% quieter when slugged, so maybe the killer won't find you before you bleed out or the in-game collapse gets you, which of course means that you won and the killer is both stupid and stinky. This one pairs really well with Bill Overbeck's Unbreakable, Elodie Ricotto's Power Struggle, or basically any build where you want the killer to know that you have huge nuts and you're not afraid of their silly little meta. It's not going to impact you. So that's it for perks. Not bad at all. Not bad at all. There are actually some quality perks here for Detective Tapp, especially if you're a person who just likes to have fun with the game, which I don't know why else you'd play the game, frankly, you masochist. But what about the part that you all came here for? What about the fashion? Well, actually, Tapp has a pretty decently dense closet for a licensed chapter. He has his basic police officer getup, equipped with a bulletproof vest, hat, and empty holster. Boy, that gun sure would have been useful. He also comes free with a basic blazer and shirt, in case you want a more casual Tapp. He can take off his hat too. Fun. Store-wise, he can become the grill master and spice up the blazing summer barbecue, dress up like the cop from the Village People and YMCA all over the killers, become crisis ready by equipping some sick boots, a ragged sweater, and the most 2000s pair of sunglasses I have ever seen. Or he can even go undercover, though honestly he doesn't look inconspicuous at all, and I'd be very suspicious of any undercover cop who is smeared with blood and bandaged to oblivion. Maybe it's just me. Before you can commit to maining a character, it is important to know what their very best fit is. Sometimes this is a set, sometimes it's a mix and match from various sources. In the case of Detective Tapp, he achieves absolute peak fashion with this. You slap on some yellow glasses to protect his eyes when he's running fast. You give him the blue because he's feeling like Sonic the Hedgehog. And you give him the camo so the killer can't see his bottom torso. Very useful from a competitive standpoint. This is easily Tapp's best look, and you will get a lot of comments and maybe even compliments on it out in the fog. But that's basically it for Detective Tapp. Now, before I can let you go, I have to do one final thing, and that's I have to decide, right? Does this character, as far as their mains are concerned, do they pass the vibe check? And I'm proud to say that Detective Tapp Mains definitely passed the vibe check. I love Tapp Mains. I've never had an issue with them. I love to see them when they're out there. So as forgettable as the character may be, yes, his mains absolutely passed the vibe check. Now, as we wrap up, I am curious to know, are you a Tapp main? Obviously you're not. I've seen the numbers. So do you know a Tapp main? And if so, have you hugged them recently? Because they may need it. There's not a lot of Tapp mains out there. They're a rare breed, but I respect them. As we head into the outro, I am curious to know, would you like me to discuss any other mains? Do you agree with my findings here today? How do you feel about Tapp mains? Let me know down below. Until next time, I've been DustFood. I hope you're having a lovely day wherever you are. Till the next one, bye friends.
I've been dreaming on in my head like I've seen it. A life worth living is a life with meaning. I'll do what I love till my heart stops beating. I'm feeding this demon. Got a taste, can't erase.